What's up? What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing this evening? Oh man, I was excited to get this show started. Give a chance to see if a few people seeing this through the algorithms. See if we get a few people in here today. This was an exciting show that I wanted to put together today. We're actually having one of our first guests on this show. Uh, Coming in today. We have Bill Sparks from Sparks Scouting. Uh, he knows Cleveland Browns. He knows their pain. Um, I think he knows a way to get them out of trouble if they listen to him. So we gonna have him on today. Um, really excited to have him on. Of course, we got NFL news as usual, right? A whole bunch of things that went on in the last couple of days since we have not been on. Also, if you guys have not checked out the Windows and Weight trailer, Josh Allen era, check out the trailer. Doing a mini series, it's going to be really cool. Check it out. Check it out. This is go. I told you we coming into 2026 with a bang. Uh, good. Just good to be here tonight. Feeling pretty good. I hope everybody else is feeling pretty good out here. Um, you know, kind of feeling bad for you folks up north. Up north, man, it is the weather. I mean, you know what though? I mean, it seems like it's cold everywhere though. To be totally honest, uh, people seeing things they have never seen before. You know, got a lot of family and friends that they live down south also, and they've never experienced cold temperatures like that. Like they cleaning out the stores and everything. I mean, they don't know how to act. My guy, you guys boxing, True Media, what's it? True Media podcast. Malachi, he down in Florida. He in southern Florida, and he had a big bubble coat on. The weather down there like 43 degrees. He like losing his mind. So, this weather is different for a lot of people. It's snowing in New Mexico and all of those things. So, the weather got a lot of people in the house. So while you guys are in the house, hopefully you come hang out with me and these other creators or kick back and watch your favorite TV shows and, relax because there ain't much going on right now. So just had to get that out there. But this is going to be a pretty good show. Um, I guess what we'll do is we will start off with some of the light news. We'll jump into all these things that's going on, and I think first and foremost, we got to get into the big Hall of Fame snub. Now this was crazy, and if you have not heard about what happened and what's going on, I am going to bring it up. While I'm bringing it up, make sure you guys hit the like button, share the content, subscribe. It helps us a lot. Helps the channel grow. Get more eyes on it. We got a lot of football content coming. You like what I'm doing, you like what we're doing, share the content. You know what I mean? The goal is to get this into a full-on live talk show where you guys can have points of times where you actually can call in. Got some other things coming, so just make sure you guys liking, sharing the content. It helps us a lot. So let me pull up all of this information here. Like I said, everybody sit back. If you just get off work, had a long day of work, get in your recliner, kick back and relax. Grab you a beverage, and enjoy the show. Don't be afraid to hop in the chat if you feel like you got something to say. Um, it's gonna be one of those days. So let's get up all this information here. Jump into it. Here we go. Let's put this on the big screen. So Adam Schefter, this is Adam Schefter, and we talking about Bill Belichick. Yes, arguably the greatest coach of all time. Wherever you want to rank him, he's in the top 3, top 5, number 1, wherever you want to rank him. The man has won 6 Super Bowls. It was part of Tom Brady's growth. I mean, that's equivalent to Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson, as far as the NBA goes. And this man was snubbed off the ballot for being a first ballot Hall of Famer. This isn't something that you see every day. And I mean, this is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Adam Schefter goes, Bill Belichick, the 8-time Super Bowl winning head coach. I forgot he got the he got the 2 with the Giants as an assistant, I think. Yeah. 8-time is not a first ballot Hall of Famer per Seth Wickersham and what's that? Denver DVN Jr. Belichick fell short of the 40 out of 50 votes needed for the induction to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, his first year of eligibility. I would like to know who casted the votes. I need you guys to put a name and face out there. I need you guys to put a name and face out there at this point. We're not gonna do that. Now, I've heard some pushbacks about, Spygate, Deflategate, all these other gates. All of that's great and all. If y'all felt that way, you should have banned him out the league. But you didn't do that. Because obviously he was good for ratings. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that this man, I mean, he shouldn't even have had to get votes. What was the vote for? I mean, what vote do you need for Bill Belichick? He has a total of 8 Super Bowl championships. He built a dynasty in New England. What else is needed? Of course, Tom Brady had a lot to say about it. Um, his thoughts, pull them up real quick. We'll pull them up real quick. Let me grab them here. I just this just tells you the politics that goes into things, and it kind of brings you to a point of it was like Bill Belichick was blackballed out of the league too. It's going to make you start to think about other things. Whether you think his fastball is gone, he passed his prime, All of that's well and good. We know how he mishandled Mac Jones, Matt Patricia being his offensive coordinator when he's really a defensive coordinator. Did Bill Belichick screw it up? Absolutely. Like I said, is his best coaching days behind him? Possibly. But what does that have to do with his body of work? His body of work has been exceptional. The Pittsburgh Steelers would have about, I don't know, 4 titles in that run had they not ran across Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. As Steeler fans, how many titles or opportunities to go get a Super Bowl was taken away from them because they had to go deal with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady? It's a joke. I want to see names and faces. Who is bold enough to lead that man out of the Hall of Fame? Is you crazy? I mean, this just goes to show the politics. I mean, let me ask this question at this point now. Does Roger Goodell get involved? Because this isn't done on the based on his body of work. You know, we know Bill Belichick is surly with the media. We know all of that. We know who he is. But to leave him out, it, it's just foolish at this point. Let's bring up what Tom Brady had to say. I mean, it's kind of pissing me off just even talking about it because it's just so stupid. So Tom Brady, he shares his thoughts on Bill Belichick not making the Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility. Uh, Tom says, "I don't understand it. If he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, there's really no coach that should ever be a first ballot Hall of Famer." I mean, tell me where he's wrong. Tell me where he's wrong. Stifling defenses. Took a chance on Brady when they had just signed Drew Brees to that $100 million contract. I think Drew got hurt, if I'm not mistaken, and they put Tom Brady in. They never went back, or I can't remember exactly what happened, but I know Tom Brady was the fourth stringer, and he went in and he took a chance on him. Even Tom Brady talked about it. I think he was talking about it with was it Chris Collinsworth? He was talking about it with somebody. Jim Gray. I think it might have been with Jim Gray, and he was talking about it. And he was saying if it wasn't for Bill Belichick sitting down with him, telling him the defensive fronts and how they were disguising things and all of that, Tom Brady wouldn't be the quarterback that he is today. And I think you got to think about those things. We talking about one of the greatest defensive geniuses. Yes, was he military style on these guys? Did a lot of guys like Bill? No, they didn't. But they got the job done. We can say whatever we want about his coaching tree. Did it always work out? The Bill O'Briens, Romeo Cornell, Charlie Weiss, Josh McDaniels, all those guys. Yeah, they may not have the greatest runs. Mike Brable, which we see now, but all those guys got a chance to be head coaches. Matt Patricia, um, uh, Brian Flores. That's about 9 to 10 guys that I named, and they had their chance to run their own teams. Obviously, something Bill Belichick was doing got those guys opportunities. So not only did he go win 6 titles as a head coach for the New England Patriots, but then he was able to build a coaching tree. Whether the coaching tree turned out to be good or not, he gave those guys opportunity. A lot of those guys tried to adopt the way he moved, and it didn't work out for them. But they were able to land in other spots. And some of these guys are getting coaching looks again, head coaching looks again. So what's going on in this situation is egregious. We're not going to act like it's not. And I think the people who did not vote for Bill Belichick to get in have some type of bias against him. And I think they should have to explain themselves. That situation right there, you have to explain yourself. You got to explain yourself. There's no way possible that you don't. You know what I mean? So I mean that's just ugly. That is spiteful. And whatever else words you want to use, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm talking to you like somebody's grandmother. You should be ashamed of yourself. There's no way you leave that man out. So, um, Bill Belichick behind the scenes, I guess, talked to an associate about it, and he's like bewildered on what did he do and everything else. Robert Kraft even came out, and we know these guys aren't on the best of terms, but even he came out and said something. So it's just an ugly situation. Me personally, it's a black eye for the Hall of Fame this year, and I don't know. We'll keep up with that story, and we'll see how that goes. So I don't know. That's just ugly. But we should pull up some of Bill Belichick's greatest press conference, because you know it's somebody that was in the press room that was not trying to hear him. You know, they said when he come up for the Hall of Fame, I am not voting him in. Like, get out of here. They got all up on their soapbox and everything else. You know what I mean? Like, go sit down somewhere. Vote the man in based on his credentials, not because you like him or dislike him. Imagine you was a garbage coach. You ain't won nothing, but you was so great with the media, they just said you was a Hall of Fame coach. Well, where are we going in this world? But let's get into the next subject. We got to talk about Joe Brady. Joe Brady has taken the Buffalo Bills job, and there was a lot of questions about who was going to get that job to take over for Sean McDermott. And we had Mike McDaniel was one of the guys, and all of this other stuff. And they were throwing all types of names. Brian Dable was going to be the guy, and everything else. So let me see here. Let me send this out real quick. Yeah, that Brian Dable is going to be the guy and everything else. And Joe Brady ended up being the guy to step up to take the job. And honestly, here's what I think on the situation. I think that may have been the best move that they can make. I do. Here's why. Continuity matters for the Buffalo Bills, especially when you have your franchise QB like Josh Allen. You don't want to go switching up all of that stuff, especially if he has the offensive coordinator that he's in sync with. Nothing's wrong with the play calling in Buffalo, by no means, right? Nothing's wrong with the play calling at all. They just, you know, they fall short. They really don't, they work with what they got in Buffalo. And it still got them to a certain point. Now, is it where they wanted to go to? No, but the offense has never really been the problem. even with the pieces and the parts that they got. And I think Joe Brady had did a great job. He took over for Ken Dorsey. And that's when Josh Allen was getting hurt every 5 seconds because they was trying to run him like a running back. You know, you don't want to tear up your Ferrari. I remember making a video about that years ago. And Ken Dorsey was running Josh Allen ragged. Joe Brady came in. We kind of saw the evolution of Josh Allen's game. It took another step. Of course, Brian Day was the one that really got the ball rolling. But when Ken Dorsey came in and took over, he kind of made Josh take a step back. So once they went to Joe Brady, everything started clicking again. So in order to not lose the continuity between Joe Brady and Josh Allen, I think that was a smart move. Now that Joe Brady has the job, who's going to be the defensive coordinator over there? And that's what I kind of wonder. Now, with certain people being angry in Cleveland and wanting out, does a Jim Schwartz go to Buffalo? They'll all come from that same tree. Sean McDermott, Jim Schwartz. They all come from that Jim Johnson era defense at 4-3. Wide defense, wide nine type defense, man to man. More reacting, thinking type of defense. Do you bring a Jim Schwartz over there? Could be definitely a situation. So I would like to see how Joe Brady fills out that staff because that's an interesting situation that they have over there. Like I said, it was Bush League the way Pagula and Brandon Bean went about things, but I do think they got this right. I Who did I have going to Buffalo? Um, well, it definitely wasn't Todd Monken, but definitely wasn't Todd Monken. But I think at that time I was just looking at like the maybe the Mike McDaniels or whatever the case may be. It looks like he's gonna be in L.A. He's not going anywhere. He goes from Miami to L.A. He gets what he wants. So I got my buddy in. We actually getting him in a little earlier. We could get to this show. Uh, got my buddy in here, Spark Scouting, Bill Spark. He knows football. He, if you follow him on X, he breaks things down to a science. He does all the dirty work, but he's going to give you the analysis that you need. And he's a Cleveland guy. He's going to help us break down what is going on with the Cleveland Browns, what's next for them, and NFL news, period. So bring my partner in crime up here. Bill, let's get you in the half and half. Come on in. Hello, sir. How are you?
I am great. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on. Glad we could finally do it. We've been trying to do this for a while, and we figured now's as good a time as any, right? With the Browns hiring their head coach today.
Listen, perfect timing. Now, I don't know how the Browns fans feel about all of this, but that's what we bring you on to talk about it for.
Yeah. So the problem is when you look at the Todd Monken hire, it has to be two tracks to it, right? The first track is Todd Monken, the candidate, which while it's not the most impressive hire in the world, it's still a very good hire. Todd Monken knows offensive football. He knows quarterback development. He knows how to build an offense around the talent that he's got, regardless of how talented it is or not. You saw what he did with Lamar Jackson.
Mhm.
You've seen what he's done in the past. He's been a coordinator in football for many years.
Mhm.
The problem is you flip to the other side of the coin, the Cleveland Browns side of things, it's a hire that leaves a lot on the table. When this entire thing started and Kevin Stefanski was fired, The vision was, let's get a young offensive minded coach in here. Let's build for the future. We know we're a couple years away. Let's build for the future. Obviously, Jim Schwartz threw his hat in the ring. He felt that he had done enough to get the job. He felt that he'd played his way into the job. There was some discussions on that. Obviously, leading up to it, you heard about the young names. You talked about him: Nathan Scheelhaase, Rams passing game coordinator; Grant Udinski, Jacksonville Jaguars offensive coordinator; Jim Schwartz, of course. I think the most disappointing thing for Browns fans is that we spent all this time, almost 3 weeks now, going after what we felt was a young offensive mind, only to land on Todd Monken, who turned 60 years old this week. And while he's an offensive mind, the runway between Scheelhaase and Udinski and Monken is significantly different. And it also, you hate to say this, but it feels like there's a lot of ownership tampering in here, because Jimmy Haslam made no secret he wanted to keep Jim Schwartz. He was going to candidates and saying, hey, if we bring you aboard as the head coach, we want you to keep Jim Schwartz on the staff. That is going to limit your talent pool. Well, now they end up going with a candidate that was amenable to keeping Schwartz on staff, only for Schwartz to say, hey, I don't want to be on the staff. I want to be the head coach and take his ball and go home. So now you didn't have your cake and you don't get to eat it too. And now Browns fans feel like they're kind of up a creek without a paddle. Is this a one and done thing? If I'm grading the hire just as Todd Monken, the candidate, I think it's a B to B minus hire. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not the best thing in the world. But if I'm grading the overall process from start to finish, it's a flat out F. You go into this thinking, hey, we're going to get a young mind on the offense. We're going to build young. We're going to spend the next couple of years. We're going to build this thing up right, open up our window. And then you just backtrack and go to Todd Monken, who's 60 years old and has a lot of experience and is probably going to do some good things in Cleveland, but you maybe get 5 years of that before you're right back to where you started.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
In your opinion, was Todd Monken their guy all along? Or was it a differences of opinion in the building? Or, kind of walk me through that. What's your belief on that?
Yeah, my belief is that it was twofold. So the belief is that Andrew Berry wanted one of these young minds. And it was talked about by Pelissero and Schefter and reported by a lot of people. They had the questionnaires, the essays, so to speak. It's the same process that's been in place that directed Cleveland to choose Sean McDermott as the recommendation. Mm-hmm. Kevin Stefanski is the recommendation. Kevin Stefanski is the recommendation a second time. All 3 times, though, what ended up happening was ownership got involved and went with Hugh Jackson, Freddie Kitchens, and then finally went with Kevin Stefanski, 3rd time's a charm. To me, this reeks of the front office and Andrew Berry wanting one candidate, whether that's Scheelhaase or Udinski. From what I heard, it was Nathan Scheelhaase. Ownership wanting a second candidate, Jim Schwartz, because Haslam's already made his love for Schwartz known. Mm-hmm. And both of them saying, hey, let's go with this third candidate, Todd Monken, who gives you what you want, but also gives me what I want. And it's kind of a bridge between the two, but it also still feels like a forced marriage, because now you're saying, okay, Todd, we're going to bring you in, but you still have to have Jim Schwartz on your staff. But also when we bring you in, we need you to help develop the quarterback and develop the next generation of the Cleveland Browns offense. So it's trying to play best of both worlds. And it just seems like there was no organizational alignment, which is just concerning if you're a Browns fan.
If I was a Browns fan, I would just be so frustrated, because you just went through this last offseason when you had 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the building. I made a video myself about it. Like, what's the game plan here? I maybe you can expound on what you're seeing. I mean, you went from you traded for Kenny Pickett. You had Kenny Pickett in the building. You said he's going to be our bridge guy. Then you bring Joe Flacco in. Then you get Dylan Gabriel, and you say he's going to be your future. Then you say the next day we're bringing in Shedeur Sanders. So, and then you still have Deshaun Watson on your roster.
Yes. It feels a lot like that. And the big thing that we have to look back on, when the Browns went with their last regime of Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski. It's important to note Andrew Berry didn't hire Stefanski. Stefanski hired Andrew Berry. Kevin Stefanski was on the what they call the research team that eventually led them to select Andrew Berry. So this was Andrew Berry's first selection of a head coach. And I would argue he still didn't even get to select his own head coach, because if he did, we'd probably be looking at Nathan Scheelhaase as the head coach. So now it goes back to you're meddling in the affairs, which is your team. This is your ownership.
Right.
You own the team. You sign the dotted line. I get that. But you also can't hold anyone accountable to that, because if you do, it's hypocritical. Like, hey, I want you to go out here and win 10 games with a coach you didn't pick, with a quarterback you didn't pick, with an offense you didn't pick. And that's the issue. Now, the good news is that Todd Monken's going to be able to make the most of this situation, because he actually it's well known that he wanted Shadur Sanders in Baltimore last year as a developmental guy behind Lamar Jackson. So he likes Shadur Sanders. In addition to that, you've got Tyler Huntley, who's a free agent in Baltimore. You can bring him over as a veteran bridge kind of competition piece. And then if you, with the treasure trove of draft capital the Browns have, they could get a guy on day 3. And now your competition looks like Shadur Sanders, Tyler Huntley, a day 3 rookie. Deshaun Watson likely just sits as the emergency third quarterback, rides out the remainder of his deal until it expires, essentially. They'll be able to designate him a post June 1st cut next year, spread the hit out, and be done with that. Dylan Gabriel, I would fully expect Atlanta to come calling, especially with it being known that that was Kevin Stefanski's guy. Michael Penix has the injury issues, as well as if you want a backup quarterback, it's very, very preferable that if your starter is a lefty, your backup should be a lefty, just because then you don't have to worry about flipping the offense should one or the other get injured. And it's very easy to say, hey, 5th or 6th round pick for Dylan Gabriel, Andrew Berry recoups the cost, Kevin Stefanski gets his guy. It's a win-win-win for everybody.
I didn't think about that, but that's good. That actually makes sense. Now, let me get back to Deshaun real quick.
Mm-hmm.
He had Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, speaking on Todd Monken.
Yeah.
Though Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson aren't the same guys, but the physical traits are a little similar.
Yes.
Does Monken take a liking outside of Shador? Does he take a liking to Deshaun's skill set and maybe feel like he can revive him? Do you think that's a possibility?
I think it's a possibility, and more of a possibility than people want to admit, just because, like you said, the physical skill sets between Deshaun and Lamar are very similar. The big thing that Monken looks for in his quarterbacks is a quarterback that can work in rhythmic, in time, and because a lot of his passing game lives in structure, it's very rhythmic, it's on time, it's 1, 2, 3 balls out, 1, 2, 3, 4 balls out, and it's a repeatable thing, but also having the ability to make a play if it breaks down. Deshaun can make the play if it breaks down, but it's that rhythmic piece of 1, 2, 3 balls out that he's struggled with. And part of that is because of the injury. Part of that is because he just missed so much time. Part of that is the off the field thing. I think if you go into it with an open mind and you say, okay, this is anybody's job. It's Shadur's job. It's the vet's job. It's Watson's job. It's a rookie's job. Open mind. It's made the best man win. And do I think that's Deshaun Watson? No, I'd argue it's probably Shadur Sanders, just based on where we're at today. But if Todd Monken comes in and he revitalizes Deshaun Watson and is able to get Deshaun Watson playing to a normal level again, that would give him probably the utmost job security of any NFL head coach out there, to the point where Jimmy Haslam might build a statue for Todd Monken outside of Huntington Bank Field. When the new dome's built, you might see a statue of Todd Monken if he can get Deshaun Watson back to where he was.
I could believe it.
I could believe it. I think it's more likely we've seen the last of Deshaun, but you can't deny that it's there. Until he's not on the roster, there's always that sneaking suspicion in the back of your mind. Hey, they're paying him all this money. Hey, they're spending all this money. They're spending a roster spot. Todd Monken's worked with Lamar Jackson. He's worked with quarterbacks who have those same physical traits. Why don't we give it a shot? See what happens.
Mm. See, that's going to be interesting to me because I think when you bring somebody like a Todd Monken into that situation,
Mm-hmm.
and that Browns defense was so good last year,
Yes.
and it's just so unfortunate you're losing Schwartz, and you really don't have a full on game plan for that. But the players are still there. You got Carson out of UCLA. He is, I think, Luke Kuechly 2.0 in my opinion. The way he flies around, Denzel Ward is still a top tier corner. Myles
Mm-hmm.
Garrett's coming off his best year, so the defense should still kind of hang intact.
Yeah.
I think my question is, and this is where I definitely come to you about, is bringing in Todd Monken. I know the Browns need some wideouts or whatever the case may be, but what would be the first area you would address if you were the GM for the Browns?
If I'm the GM for the Browns with 2 first-round picks, it has to be some combination of a wide receiver and an offensive tackle. You look at this Browns team, they're going to have 4 of their 5 starters on the offensive line as free agents this year. So you've got to get offensive linemen in there in a hurry. Not to mention the tackles that they had last year were no better than subway turnstiles, letting everyone through. So I think the combination has to be wide receiver versus offensive tackle. Now, the conversation from a draft perspective is the offensive tackle class is very good at the top, but after about the top 4 guys, there's a very sharp drop off. Whereas at wide receiver, you've got a very solid set of guys going probably 7, 8, 9 guys deep into the top 50. So you could just as easily go offensive tackle with the first pick, wide receiver with the second pick, and then double up with wide receiver again. The one thing that I do look for, though, is with Todd Monken, one of the biggest things that first year in Baltimore when he arrived, Baltimore's first round pick was Zay Flowers. But they also tried to trade up and get Jackson Smith and Jigba. Mekhi Lemon, the USC wide receiver, is a very close mold to that same style of receiver. Thrives in the slot, able to get open, has the vertical juice. And if someone took Mekhi Lemon at 6th overall, I wouldn't blink. He's number 13 on my board, so it's a little early.
Okay.
But when you look at positional value, it's not the end of the world. So I could see a world where they go Mekhi Lemon at 6 and then come back for an offensive tackle at 24, whether that's a guy like Caleb Lomu if he slides, or even Monroe Freeling from Georgia if he falls. And they could also address it in free agency as well. It's not it's not too far out of the realm of possibility that with different restructures and strategic post June 1st cuts, this Browns team could have probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about $70 million in cap space. That's
Okay. Okay.
the one thing that people don't really think about. And I give a shout out to my guy Jack Duffin over on X, writes for the OBR. He's a salary cap guru. When you look at the Browns and what they're going to have space wise, if you just simply do a few basic moves, and I'll just on the fly we'll do them here. If you restructure Deshaun Watson's deal, restructure Denzel Ward's deal, and then you designate Joel Bitonio as a post June 1st cut, and then you designate Wyatt Teller as a post June 1st cut, you'll go to about $42 million in cap space right now.
Okay.
And that's just there. And then you'll also have $89 million the following year. And then that doesn't include if you do any other restructuring or any other moves, things of that nature. And I think $42 million doesn't sound like a lot, but when you look at it, there's going to be a significant amount of moves that you can make for $42 million to bring in talent. And even if you kept Teller and you did a post June 1st cut of Njoku, that alone would get you up to $58 million. So right there, you're almost at $60 million, and you haven't even really touched the middle parts of your roster where you can do other restructures or things like that. So the myth out there that the Browns are that they're strapped for cash, it's not true. They're not strapped for cap. the one thing that Andrew Berry and Jimmy Haslam are good at, Jimmy Haslam's good at signing the checks. He opens the pocketbook and pays the money. And Andrew Berry is very adept at making the money move. Consider it like a credit card, right? He goes out, he swipes the credit card, gets the players he wants, and then in 2 years the bill comes due, and then he just pays the minimum payment, pushes the payment forward, and it's just a year over year type of thing.
Okay, gotcha. Because I actually thought that there's no way they'll be able to do anything to 27. That's what
Yeah.
my thought was. But I'm glad you were here to explain that. So interesting.
Yeah.
Now let me ask this question. I know you brought up David Njoku.
Mm-hmm.
Do the Browns in Atlanta get a friendly relationship going with that situation also? Maybe put a whole package together. I know they got Kyle Pitts and they have to re-sign Kyle Pitts, but
Mm-hmm.
Stefanski going down there, it's going to be a two tight end type of system, or maybe the 13 personnel, whatever they run down there.
Yeah.
Does he say, hey, let's send David over to Atlanta for about a 4th or 5th round pick? Is that a
Yeah.
possibility, you think, or?
It's a possibility, but the big concern is that David Njoku's contract will actually void on February 13th.
Okay.
So if you're the Browns, you have to do one of two things. Either you have to restructure the deal and then move that cap number forward, or you just let the contract void. With David Njoku being 29 years of age, he's up there in years. We've already saw Harold Fannin kind of eat into his snap count. I fully expect they just let that contract void, designate the void as a post June 1st cut, saving them $17 million. And I think Njoku could find his way to Atlanta. I think it's absolutely feasible that he does that. I think the conversation there is do they want to go with Kyle Pitts, who's a younger, faster version, or does Kevin Stefanski want to say, okay, I'm going to go with my guy that I know has worked well in David Njoku, especially with Tommy Reese down there calling the plays? You're going to see a lot of 12 personnel down there. So it's possible they bring them both back. And now you have both of them along with Drake London and Bijan Robinson.
And see, that's what I was wondering. That's because I don't think there's no way they let Kyle Pitts walk out the door after he's finally had that coming of age year that he had last year, and starting to kind of figure things out. So I'm guessing, to kind of jump into it, Atlanta news, I'm guessing they'll keep Kirk Cousins down there another year, I'm guessing, until.
I don't. So the only thing I think that would give them pause for the Kirk Cousins, you watched him on CBS when he was replacing Matt Ryan, and he looked like he was as happy as a clam. I think we've seen the last of Kirk Cousins in the NFL. I think he's fully content with. Yeah, I think he said, "Hey, I've made enough money. I am content with where I am in my career. I have this really good gig at CBS. I've been paid." We have to talk about Kirk Cousins' agent is the greatest agent in all of football. I don't want to hear the Rosenhaus talk. I don't want to hear the Mulugeta talk. I want to hear Kirk Cousins' agent's the best agent in football, the amount of money that man has gotten paid for his client. But I think if you look at it, I think Atlanta could designate him a post June 1 cut. It's $22 million in dead money, but they'd actually save $2 million by doing that. Okay. I think they do that. I think they mark him as a retirement date effective June 1st. Take the post June 1st there. They get money back. Atlanta, the big issue with Atlanta is they're a little on the cap strap side for 26. If you do the Kirk Cousins June 1st move, you're at about 19 million, but you have 149 million going into next year in terms of your cap space. So you could feasibly, if you can get Kyle Pitts to agree to it, you can backload that deal into 2027 and 2028. Say if you did a 4-year, let's just start a 4-year, $100 million deal out there. The first year is 7 to 8 million, and then the other 92 million are in the back 3 years of the deal. That's where you get that sort of setup. Or you just start looking at who you can restructure, who you can cut, save up some space. You can restructure guys like, Jake Matthews, Chris Lindstrom, even Jesse Bates, and that right there would be about $30 million that you could free up.
Okay. Sounds like they're trying to figure some things out, but they got a lot of little movement to make it. Shout out to Mike McCartney. That is Kirk Cousins' agent. So
yes,
we're shouting you out, Mike, because me and Sparks can use an agent and help us get some of that money that Kirk Cousins has fleeced. I mean, not fleeced, but earned. So
Yeah. Hey, let me tell you, when you are able to get money from your client from one team, that's okay. Yeah, a lot of agents are really good negotiating one team. He
mm,
did it for three teams. He did it for Washington and Minnesota and Atlanta. Like he ran roughshod through the NFC and got his client paid.
he definitely did. You're, hey, no lies detected when you said that about his agent. Mike McCartney, you are the man, and you can give us a call anytime. Um, Now, as far as the Browns, back to the
Mhm.
Browns,
Yeah.
Malachi Lemon, that does sound like a great pick. It's funny. I was actually playing a season with the Browns, and Malachi Lemon was one of the guys that I actually drafted, and it worked
Yep.
out even on Madden. So I think that's a great pick. Um, Being that the offensive tackles are top heavy and they go away,
Mhm.
and the Browns need a whole brand new offensive line.
Mhm.
Do you look at that? What are they? The seventh, sixth, or seventh pick? Sixth pick?
Yeah, sixth and 24th are their two picks.
Do you feel like the Browns have a little movement in this particular draft, maybe to take that sixth pick, maybe just back up a couple spots and still get the Malachi Lemon and just add a little more to the treasure chest because they have so much to reload on? What do you think about that?
I would 100%, if I'm in the Browns front office, I'm pounding the table to move back from 6, get a few extra picks, maybe get an extra top 75 pick this year and one next year. The problem is with the NFL draft, it takes 2 to tango. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're looking to go back, you've got to have somebody wanting to come up for something.
Mm-hmm.
And with it being a one quarterback class and Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, who's going to go number 1 overall to the Raiders, there's not really a whole lot you're going to ask a team to come up for, whether that be a safety in Caleb Downs, a corner in Mansour Delane or Jermod McCoy from LSU and Tennessee, respectively,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a running back in Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame. It's very hard to trade back when no one wants to come up.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm the Browns, I'm doing everything I can to get out of 6, land somewhere between 9 and 12, and then you can get one of these offensive tackles. Right now on my board, I have Francis Maui-Noah, the Miami right tackle. He's my number 4 overall prospect. Caleb Lomu, Utah left tackle, is number 9. Spencer Fano, the Utah right tackle, is number 10. And then Monroe Freeling, the Georgia left tackle, is number 33.
Mm-hmm.
But I expect him to go much higher when we get to the combine and he tests out of this mind. I think there is a world where all 4 of those guys are gone by pick 15. I think
Mm.
absolutely. I think
Okay.
we could see a run on offensive tackles, and they're going to go quick, which is why I think the Browns need to either try to trade back, get into the 9 to 10, 11 range, still be able to get one, or just flat out take one at 6.
Okay. Okay. I think that sounds like a plan to me. Now, let me ask you this question. Since Todd
Yeah.
Monken is their guy now, and I was wondering, does
Mhm.
Carson Beck come into play at some point?
I floated that idea myself to a couple people I talked to. It is very much in play because you watched what he did with Monken at Georgia. I think the more likely scenario, though, is Cade Klubnik from Clemson. When you look at what Cade Klubnik did at Clemson, he's a very rhythmic passer, has a big arm, can be mobile and move. And that's exactly what Todd Monken wants: a rhythmic passer, mobile on the move, can make the big play.
Mm.
The question with Carson Beck, and you saw it in the national championship game, what type of arm are you going to get from him? Because you looked at it, there was a lot of plays where that arm just looks zapped from that UCL surgery.
Mm.
And especially you go to the game sealing interception, you watched it, he threw that ball into double coverage and it was overthrown. And it looked like he put everything he could into it
Mm.
to get it down the field. So that's the concern is, does he have the requisite arm strength to work in Todd Monken's offense and to work in the cold, windy environment in
Mm.
Cleveland, which is another factor that you have to have. I would say if you're looking at guys for Cleveland in the draft in terms of the quarterback, it's going to be on day three. It's going to be a day three flyer like a Cade Klubnik, like a Carson Beck. One guy that I am absolutely enamored by is Talon Green, the Arkansas quarterback, 6'6", 229, huge arm, probably the strongest arm of any quarterback in this class,
Mm-hmm.
but needs work as a processor, needs work in working in time and in rhythm. But this guy has shades of Vince Young to his game, and you watch what Vince Young did at Texas and how he played stylistically.
Mm-hmm.
Big arm, but took off if he needed to, but just threw the ball on a rope. That's what Talon Green is, and I think if you're Todd Monken, and the conversation becomes, okay, I can get Carson Beck, who I've worked with before, or I have this really tantalizing 6'6", 229 signal caller with a rocket. Give me the 6'6", 229 with a rocket.
Yeah, you can't teach that. Can't
No.
teach that size.
Mm-mm.
Can't teach it.
No.
Um, Let me ask you this question, and this is
Yeah.
one of the hometown kids that grew up a Browns fan. I have to bring him up. Had the career didn't go the way that it was supposed to go in college to a lot of people's mind. He had the big injury this year. I'm talking about Drew Allard.
Hmm.
Does Drew Allard fit somewhere in the Browns' plans? Possibly. Do you think that is somebody that they would look at? I know he is enamored with Cleveland,
Mm-hmm.
being from Cleveland.
Yeah.
Is that something that they look at, at some point, being that he's probably a day three or I don't even know, maybe an undrafted?
I think he'll go on day three because it's the same conversation we just had with Talon Green. 6'5", 200 and 235, 240, right in that range. Big arm, big frame. You can't teach those types of things. You know, can drive the ball to all levels of the field. Has very good timing and touch in the red zone. And the biggest concern though is that his mechanics just break down on random occasions. It's not even due to pressure, and they break down due to pressure pretty frequently. But just on random occasions, you'll see off-platform throws. You'll see where his lower body and his upper body are just not mirrored at all, and he's trying to force it in there with his arm. Every time I look at him, I see a lot of Blake Bortles in
Mm,
in the exact same way. Big arm, athletic, big frame, just had some mechanics issues. And everybody clowns on Blake Bortles, but he was a very effective quarterback. Got to the AFC title game. It's just he was taken with a third overall pick, and the standards
right.
were too high. If
Mm,
you took a Blake Bortles type of passer on day three of the draft, and you get that type of production, that's a win. So I think if you take a Drew Aller as well, it's how can you develop him to get the most out of him, and you do that by pairing him with a guy who has developed that type of passer in Todd Monken, and
mm.
that's a perfect fit.
It came to my mind. I said, you know what? He is a guy that wants to be in Cleveland. And I said, let
Mhm.
me throw that out to you and see what you thought on that situation.
Yeah.
So we talked about the Browns needing wide receivers. We know that they need offensive line help. We added all those things. Is there one of those positions that you say the Browns can really improve in this spot and no one's talking about it? Is there a sleeper there that if you were the Browns GM that you would be looking at, or any other NFL team? Is it a couple guys that really stick out to you that are kind of flying under the radar?
Yeah, so a couple of guys. So first for Cleveland, the first guy that I'm looking at is Keontae Scott, the corner from Miami. And the reason I'm looking at him is he played a lot of nickel corner in the end in Miami, almost 500 snaps in the slot. They're set with Denzel Ward and Tyson Campbell on the outside, but in that nickel corner position, there was a lot of heavy rotation. Martin Emerson went down, then they just tried to fill that position. So I fully expect them to look at a nickel corner, especially if we see a Zach Orr or an Anthony Weaver joining Todd Monken in Cleveland as a part of his staff, because both of those guys in that Baltimore style of defense, there's a lot of post snap rotations. There's a lot of hybrid schemes between 3-4 and 4-3, and even some 4-2-5 schemes. So I think a nickel corner is going to be huge for them. And Keontae Scott's just one of those guys that just is willing to come up and hit people in run defense, very good in zone coverage, very good in man coverage. You know, this is a guy that if you're sitting there round 3 range, he would be an excellent pick at the corner position. If I'm looking at a few sleepers, so to speak. The first one, and I'll continue to hammer the table for this guy till the cows come home, is Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, the Toledo safety. Listen, there is something in the water when it comes to Toledo defensive backs because you look at what they produced in Quinyon Mitchell in Philadelphia, and Emmanuel McNeil-Warren is that next dude. This is a guy who, works well in the box, can come down, hammer somebody home, hit somebody hard, but also does great in coverage, always seems to find his way around the ball. Just like Justin Reed in Kansas City, just all over the place, always willing to make a play, just always around the football.
Just a
And
missile.
just an absolute missile. You are 100% correct. And then the other one that I'll dig a little deeper for, he's actually started to pop up a little bit on some few radars, especially with his performance at the Shrine Bowl this past week. Keyshawn James Newby from New Mexico. This is a
Okay.
guy flew under a lot of radars, didn't get a whole lot of love during his time in college because obviously he played at New Mexico. But you watched him, and he has a very good set of pass rush skills. He can rush the passer very well. I see a lot of Yannick Ngakwe in his game, and you can get that on day 3 in the draft and get a pass rusher like that. And if you're wanting to go with another guy, Nadam Tucker from Western Michigan, same thing, a very good pass rusher, very effective pass rusher, had double-digit sacks this year. Yeah, a lot like Bryce Huff style of edge rusher there.
Okay.
So I think that's the one good thing, the one sneaky position I'll say is while edge rusher isn't that top heavy in terms of true standout blue chip edge rushers, there's depth in this class where you can get a guy on day 3 that could probably produce for you year 1 in the NFL.
Okay. Okay. All right. I mean, Browns look like they have this draft has a lot of needs that they can get filled in this draft
Mm-hmm.
and don't have to press and move around and move up. They actually could benefit from moving back, and you've given us a ton of homework to do. If you're a Browns fan, you have a lot of homework to do to see who fits the new schemes because that is going to be a big deal. Anthony Weaver, Zach Orr do come in here. They were a lot of those. They're not as straightforward schemes like Jim
Mm-hmm.
Schwartz. They're more of a lot
Yeah.
of disguises and things of that nature. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go moving into this 2026 season. Um, Bill, I appreciate having you on. You can hang out here anytime you feel like we
Yeah.
got to talk about some other things. We're going to get some things done here, but I really appreciate you coming on and
Mhm.
let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find all my content over on X at Spark Scouting. You can also find my written content over on my Substack, Spark Scouting NFL Comp King. If you go to Substack, search Spark Scouting, you'll see me pop up. I also have the link in my bio over on X at Spark Scouting. Also, a contributor to the Barking Browns over on YouTube. You can just search up Barking Browns and you'll see us pop up, where I do a weekly show on the NFL draft. Some of it's Browns centric, some of it's NFL draft centric, and I do have right now a big board with over 300 players, and every player has a comp just because it's a lot easier to hear, hey, this player's like this, and it gives you an idea of, I've seen that player before to
Right,
make life
right.
easier for you.
Hey, listen. As many players go in and out of the NFL, you need those comps, and then you can kind of take those comps and then go find that footage on YouTube and see if this guy fits your team.
Mhm.
Let's see if maybe we got a couple more questions we can put in here before
Yeah,
you leave out of here.
absolutely.
I talked about Bill Belichick, that
Yes.
situation. Do you have thoughts on that situation?
I have to ask, what are we doing here? Listen, I get you want to hold them accountable for Spygate and you want to hold them accountable for some of those things. But Bill Belichick is a guy, when you include his defensive assistant time, 8 Super Bowls, he has one of the greatest head coaches of our time. And I understand you saying, okay, we've got to hold him accountable for something. It's got to be a slap on the wrist somewhere. But to say he's not a universal first ballot Hall of Famer is just ridiculous to me. It just screams petty. It screams like we have control. And when you look at some of the stuff that's coming out about it, there's voters that say, yeah, I voted for him to get in. And then it's released that, no, you didn't. You actually voted no. Obviously, Bill Polian's one of the big ones that people are questioning. I think also we have to have the conversation. Why was the vote even released to begin with? Why are we releasing people's names? If they want to come out and say, yeah, I did vote or I didn't vote, sure, that's fine. But to
Right.
release all 50 names, all 50 publications, who they voted for, that just screams like, yeah, somebody messed up. You can go blame these people.
Yeah, because here's my thing, and I said this earlier. I said definitely need to put the names and faces with it. But
Mm-hmm.
you bringing up that point, and I'm just thinking about it in my head now. Is this the first time that all the voters have been released?
This is one of the first times where all 50 of the voters have been released. And actually, I believe the NFL Hall of Fame released a press release before we went on the air
Oh wow.
where they discussed. Let me pull it up, see if it's still there. I thought they released it, but maybe they didn't. But there was a communication that they were going to review the ballot, just because it shouldn't have been leaked.
Let's see. Maybe we could get it pulled up here. Let me see if I can find it here.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's see. I I don't see anything on their X page. Let's see
Yeah.
here.
See.
Uh,
Because I thought I saw a news release. Yep. The Pro Football Hall of Fame issued a statement saying that it may remove voters who violated bylaws. And this was the statement on media reports related from Canton, Ohio. The Pro Football Hall of
okay.
Fame understands and respects the passionate reaction of many fans, media members, and enshrinees. They respect the members of the selection committee. Each year, the Hall reviews the selection committee and the composition of the 50-person selection committee. If it is determined that any members violated that selection process bylaws, they understand action would be taken and that such selectors would not remain a member of the committee moving forward.
Wow.
So basically, the way I would interpret that is if you leaked the results or you discussed your results out of turn, you could be removed from being a voter.
Clean up on aisle one.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. 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 All right. Well, we're, def-
Yeah.
we're definitely getting some news. I'm gonna hold you one more second, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you out of here because I know you probably got to get a little rest here. So, Buffalo with the Joe Brady hire. What was your thoughts on that?
So the concern with the Joe Brady hire, and this goes back to how how the press conference went. The the press conference with Terry Pagula and Brandon Beane, where they essentially pinned the Keon Coleman pick on Sean McDermott. I have a problem with that because first off, we all saw on Hard Knocks how Brandon Beane said, pick 33, it's Keon Coleman or bust. And when I sleep on it, I'm gonna wake up and if he's there, I'm taking him. You wanted that. But
Right.
you wanted to blame Sean McDermott for that. And, I understand that. Somebody's got to take the fall guy for you guys not succeeding in the playoffs. But there's a legitimate conversation to be had about the talent you've put around Josh Allen. When
Mm-hmm.
your top receiving talent is guys like Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman, who are career wide receiver twos, or Stephon Diggs, who's a higher profile personality that you've got to treat a little bit with kid gloves, but also work a little bit differently with. We've
Mm-hmm.
seen it work very successfully with Mike Vrabel so far in New England. You've got to be able to handle that as a general manager. And I think if you were going to move on from Sean McDermott, you needed to move on from Brandon Beane as well and clean the entire slate. The fact that they didn't, I'm a little concerned. Getting to the Joe Brady hire, They needed an offensive mind, but hiring from within feels like you're just making a change just to say, we changed head coaches. We did it. We made the change everybody wanted. They wanted us to move on from McDermott. But considering the other options were probably Brian Dable or maybe Davis Webb, Joe Brady's the best of those three
Mm-hmm.
as far as a head coach. But if I'm a Buffalo fan, I'm concerned because this is a serious step back. Is Sean McDermott, for all his knocks and all his issues, was very good at in-game adjustments and in-game management. Now
Mm-hmm.
you're bringing in Joe Brady, who's a first-time head coach,
Mm-hmm.
who's going to call the plays, who's going to have to learn the in-game management on the fly. And then, oh, by the way, we also have this top flight quarterback in Josh Allen, and we need you to get to the Super Bowl this year because the last guy we fired got to the divisional round, but he couldn't get us over the hump. Now it's your turn to do it. I think there's going to be what I would call a market crash in Buffalo, and
Mm.
it wouldn't shock me, being honest. And I know this will probably end up on freezing cold takes next year when I say this, but it wouldn't shock me if Buffalo misses the playoffs next year.
Mm. That's tough talk, Bill. That's
It
tough
is.
talk.
It
And
is. And I know I will probably end up being wrong for it, but when you just see that you have a first time head coach who's going to have to do all these things and juggle all these plates, and then oh by the way, your GM has shown that they can't really get solid talent in the building for you to build around, and then also by the way, you're paying your quarterback all this money, so your money in free agency is going to be very limited. You just got to make do with what you got. It's hard to upgrade on that. It's very hard to upgrade on that.
let's I got the seed up. Let's bring up the Brandon Bean comment. Let's
Yep.
let's let's rewind this back. Let's roll this beautiful Bean footage.
When I went to bed that night, I was like, it's Keon unless someone just blows us away. We didn't feel anything was attractive enough for us to pass up on Keon.
All things considered, I think considered just get the guy who's feels the best fit.
When I
Very hard when evidence is in the building.
It's very hard to say, yeah, it's Sean McDermott's guy when we feel he's the best fit. We're going to get the guy we feel he's the best fit. You just said that. That's you. That's your decision. And you know what? If he had owned up to it and said, hey, I made a bad decision, I took Keon Coleman and he wasn't the best fit for us, understandable. But also don't put that on your head coach. And also, if you're going to do this to a player, let's make sure the player's no longer on the roster on a long-term deal before we have this conversation. He's still got 3 more years on his contract. So good luck trying to have Joe Brady smooth that over for you.
That was a very slimy,
Yeah.
disgraceful press conference. I watched it and I just said, there's no way Keon Coleman's agent is going to leave him in Buffalo.
No.
Pack the bags. You're out of here. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have my player return back to Buffalo with that situation. Then you have to look at free agency or any type of trades come and they say, well, if it doesn't go right, my owner and my GM is going to throw me under the bus.
Bingo.
I can kind of see why you do say that Buffalo is in a situation. Um, and this is a shameless plug. We have the mini series. I don't know if you had a chance to see. I put the trailer up on X called Windows and Wait, the Josh Allen era. So it's going to go through a lot of scenarios for him and his career going forward. This is going to be interesting because I said, the Joe Brady was probably the best move that they could have made, like you said. I think it would have been hard to go outside of that at that point in time unless you didn't want to go young and put something on a Nate Scheelhaase.
Mm-hmm.
Mike McDaniel, I was maybe OC, but not head coach. But
And
I can kind of
the
understand the Brady thing too, though.
yeah, and the problem with that is if you don't get outside the org, you have to go with those younger names like Scheelhaase or Udinsky, because guys like Mike McDaniel and guys like Robert Sala and other guys like that have been head coaches in the league before, they just watched Sean McDermott get thrown under the bus for making the playoffs for multiple seasons. The first thing, and like you said, with free agency, with agents, the first thing that happens when things go sideways, well, Bean's just going to throw me under the bus in the next presser. Why would I even entertain taking this job? So I think that's the one thing that's not talked about enough with that Buffalo presser is the behind the scenes stuff. Because the first phone call he has to make on March 9th in free agency during the tampering period to someone's agent, they're going to ask him, so what happens when you throw my client under the bus?
And you know, with that being that they've created that situation, now you're going to have to guarantee more money to some of these guys that may not deserve more guaranteed money, because now you have to capitulate to your franchise quarterback who's kind of getting, even though Josh had for his standards, he had a terrible playoff game, but he still kept him in the game. He's not going to be perfect every game. Superman bleeds too. And now you have to go field this team and add to this team on restricted cap measures, and you've already alienated player agents and players.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. And as of right now, they're 13 million over the cap for next year. So you got to make moves, and you got to do it on the low in terms of money. It's why I'm just not confident in Buffalo next year. Like, yes, I get they have Josh Allen, and when you have Josh Allen, you're always going to be in it. But the problem is you have guys, you have Deion Dawkins. You look at just cap hits alone. Josh Allen, $56 million cap hit. Deion Dawkins, $24 million. Ed Oliver, $24 million. Spencer Brown, $20 million. Dawson Knox, $17 million. Gregory Rousseau, $11 million. Josh Palmer, $11 million. All of these larger than life cap hits, you're not going to be able to get out of them all. You're not. You might be able to cut a few here and there. Matt Milano, if you designate him as a post June 1 cut, that saves you $5 million. But you're going to have to restructure folks' deals. Does that mean you restructure Josh Allen's deal and save money? Do you restructure Deion Dawkins' deal and save money and kick his can further down the line when he's already 32 years old? So, again, this is where Buffalo finds themselves, because the one thing about NFL team building is when you take that rookie quarterback, you have to be pretty close to ready to go. The rookie quarterback should be the final piece of the puzzle. And the reason for that is that's 5 years of cost-controlled team building.
Right.
Because the moment you get to year 3, you've got to determine if you're going to make the 5th-year option. And year 4, you've got to file the extension. Because if you let it get to year 5 and you're not anywhere near where you need to be, well, now you're looking at paying a quarterback $50 million a year just on the average. At a certain point, with the cap, with the salary cap being $300 million, $50 million is a large chunk of change out of that salary.
It is. It's about 25 to 27% of your cap.
Bingo.
It'll be interesting times in Buffalo.
I agree.
Wow. Bill, thank you so much for coming to hang out with us. You've given us a lot of information. If you're a Browns fan, Spark Scouting. He's on X, formerly known as Twitter. He has the Substack. All of that is in the links. I'll make sure once this live ends, I'll put everything in the comments and the links so these guys can come check you out.
Yes.
Up and coming, one of the best in the biz. He knows what he's talking about. I'm only bringing on people that know what they're talking about. Bill's one of those guys. He's going to talk Browns. He's going to talk NFL, period. He's going to let you know who's going to be that next big thing. And he's going to let you know who's going to be a bust, too.
That's true. I
So
appreciate you having me on, man. It was a fun time. I have to do it again.
absolutely, absolutely. We're going to figure out some things going forward here. But hey, have a great night. We'll talk soon. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. We'll talk soon. We'll see you.
Hey, have a good one.
You too.
That was Bill Sparks. Um, you heard him. What the Browns should do. Malachi Lemon, one of my guys, reminds you of Jackson Smith and Jigba. You know where Jackson Smith and Jigba is going right now? He's going to San Francisco for the Super Bowl. He's a dynamo. Malachi Lemon is the same. Pretty in much in the same vein. Very shifty, can get open. The Browns need help at receiver. Jerry Jeudy is not a number one, but he could be a complement receiver next to a Malachi Lemon and whoever else that they bring in. You got the Harold Fannins. You got all of these guys. They have a young nucleus, Dylan Sampson, Quinshawn Junkins. So the Browns do have a young, as far as in the skill positions, they have a young, dynamic team that can figure some things out. And I'm going to say this. While it was Cleveland being Cleveland to make the Todd Monken hire, like Bill said, it's not that Todd Monken is a bad hire. The problem that I had with the Todd Monken hire is Todd Monken is pretty much 60 years old. The Browns said that they wanted a head coach that they can grow with, that's in their early 30s, that they want to make their version of the Mike Tomlin or whoever that could be the Browns head coach for the next 10 or 15 years. And, let's be honest, unless Todd really, does some really good work and he's evolving as he gets older, Todd Monken ain't a spring chicken. So you had to know that it offended Jim Schwartz in a way, because what the Browns said they were looking for, they didn't go do. And then they hired a guy that was the same age as Jim. So when you look at Jim Schwartz has the right to be mad. Now, the one thing I did not ask Bill, and I meant to ask him, is does Jim Schwartz go to a Buffalo? That may be a situation, because now his services are out there. I know the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are bringing in as the defensive coordinator, I think Philip Graham. Now, he's been around Mike McCarthy for years. He's been a part of the Green Bay system. I think he kind of followed him a little bit to the Dallas Cowboys. Patrick Graham has the last 4 years, I think he was in Las Vegas. He's been in a couple places, and he hasn't had much to work with. So we'll see what he does with the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. But, I don't know. Maybe they would have went the route of Jim Schwartz. But the Bills don't have a defensive coordinator at this point. So do they go look at that situation and go bring Jim Schwartz in, help develop that talent, because they're going to have to rely on the draft picks and some of the guys that may have supposed to have been something in their career and maybe just didn't pan out to that. Maybe a Jim Schwartz can come in and revitalize those guys' careers. So that situation in Buffalo is tenable. It's going to be crazy. While we're here and we talking about Buffalo for a second, I am going to show you guys the trailer we did for Windows and Wait. It's like a minute and 18 seconds. This is going to be a pretty cool series that we're working on. And we're going to check that out real quick here. So let me see here. Pull it up real quick. I'll go small. There we go. And let's check this trailer out real quick. Let me know what you guys think about it. Josh Allen was supposed to change everything, and he did.
Just get here again and have this happen.
It's extremely difficult. I feel like I let my teammates down tonight.
Buffalo knows pain, but this one felt different because the NFL doesn't wait for anything, not even MVPs. So we asked the question nobody wants to ask. What if he never wins one? Then we asked the harder one. What if he still does? This isn't a hit piece. This isn't hype. It's a legacy study. Windows and Wait. Josh Allen. So that is the trailer for Windows and Wait. That actually segued perfect. Like I said, shout out to Bill Sparks. The man knows his football. He's going to be able to break it down. Don't be surprised if somebody's calling him in the next year or two to come in and be some type of assistant GM, some type of scout, because he's just that damn good. I'm be totally honest. And you know he's going to bring perspective, and he's going to make it digestible for the common fan, the casual fan, and even the hardcore fan. So again, after this live ends, I'm going to make sure that I put all his links and everything else in the description and go check him out. Yeah, well, as far as with the Browns, I didn't think about this, but Bill did bring it up. The Anthony Weaver and Zach Orr, will these be the defensive coordinators or co-defensive coordinators, or they come in some type of package deal, or one of those guys? Will they be Monken's DC? That's going to be interesting. That means the philosophies are going to change a little bit. They run a lot of disguises, and you may see Myles Garrett going into coverage. So this is going to be a little bit different from the Jim Schwartz defense, where it's kind of pin your ears back and go get them. It's going to be a little more thinking in this defense, and we'll see how the Browns adjust to that. And I think that's the unfortunate thing about what happened in this situation, and how the Browns, again, mismanaged another situation. You had a pretty much the number one defense in the league, if not number one, top three, whatever, and they were vicious, and they were getting after people. And them screwing up this situation and not getting the guy they wanted, and trying to hold Schwartz over and put Schwartz on these head coaching candidates, and then it all backfiring in their face because they took Todd Monken. Here's my question at that. Why wouldn't you just make Jim Schwartz the head coach? Put the interim tag on him. Give him a year at least. See what he can do. Bring in whoever you want to bring in as the offensive coordinator. See if this team can get it stride about himself, because you already have a defense that's clicking. That means you already have one half of this thing going. If you can bring in the offensive guy that can help this team, help build Shador or whoever that you have coming in, because again, Todd Monken, as far as quarterback building, he has the pedigree. But it's like you're adding one thing to take from another. We don't know if that Browns defense is going to be as good as it was last year. I mean, the Browns in itself, the Browns won, 4 or 5 games this year? The Browns left 3 games on the table this year that they could have won and maybe put them at 7 or 8 wins. So, now you're trying to fix the offense and all of that's going to be going. But what if the defense takes a step back? Because now the philosophies are changing. And if you do bring in a Zach or you bring in an Anthony Weaver, their defensive philosophies is totally different from Jim Schwartz. And he was the number 1 defense. And we saw how Zach Orr's defense struggled in Baltimore. We saw Miami's defense. While it did play better, it was not a top 10 defense. It was more of a middle of the pack defense. So will their philosophies translate if they are the guys to come in and be the Browns defensive coordinators? See, this is more than just about the Browns losing, Jim Schwartz. It's philosophies that changed. And now that these philosophies have changed, how does Myles Garrett feel about this? This is the guy that you just paid $42 million to. And if he's used incorrectly and his team still stumbles out of the gate, I really don't understand the whole premise, because I think when you bring in a Todd Monken, you're saying we're here to kind of win now. Whereas if you would have brought in a young guy like a Nate, the guy from the Rams, or the Grant Udisky, it would have kind of bought you some time. Nate Scheelhaase would have came in. It kind of would have bought you some time. It would have kind of gave you a couple years to say, hey, he's a young guy. Let's put the veteran coaches around him and let him build. Let's see where this goes. But when you bring in Todd Monken, it's kind of like he's ready to win now. That's a situation where now you're going to have expectations. Then you're putting expectations on a Shedeur Sanders, who's coming into his second year, who's going to get the full reign, who already has a lot of publicity and press on him, and where he doesn't need that pressure. So now he's going to go from a Stefanski offense to a Todd Monken offense, which is, it's not as safe as Stefanski's offense. So now that means Shedeur is going to have to go through more reads. That also means, how does Deshaun Watson fit into this whole situation? I talked with Bill about that. You look at Deshaun Watson's build, his athleticism. You look at Lamar Jackson, his athleticism. Those guys' archetypes are close to the same. Does he feel like that's somebody he wants to work with? So you don't even have a clear cut. You just don't have a clear cut answer to anything. And this has been the Browns situation for years. This is why they can't get out of their own way. We had the reports. Diana Rossini put up. They wanted to go with Scheelhaase. I called him Scheelhaase earlier. I'm sorry. They wanted to go with Scheelhaase. But Jimmy wants to go with Todd Monken. So what am I here for if I can't do my job and you're just going to overrule me? The Cleveland Browns are the Dallas Cowboys of the North. Yes, I said it. They can't get out of their own way. And we're going to see how this works. If this is a train wreck again, Browns fans, I'm telling you, don't go to the games. If this looks like crap again this year, because the way it's going, it may look that way. And I'm going to tell you this. If Kevin Stefanski goes down to Atlanta and all of a sudden he got a new lease on life, like he was with his he was in a relationship with a partner that was holding him back, and that person go get into that new relationship and all of a sudden they look clean. All of a sudden they got confidence, and they ain't look like that previously. It's gonna be a real problem. Hey, we got a chat. Oh, this is a Philly fan right here. Philly Mike OG. Appreciate you coming into the live, man. Whoa, breaking news. Sam Darnold has been ruled out for the Super Bowl with a oblique tear injury. Hold on. You ain't serious. Wait a minute. Per Adam Schefter? Let me tell you something. Philly, and listen, my wife is a diehard Philly fan, so you welcome in here. But if this ain't real, I'm blocking you. I'm telling you. I'm blocking you. This better be real, Philly Mike. That would be terrible if it is. Mike, you getting blocked, Mike. Mike, don't be coming over here trolling, man. You more than welcome to come over here anytime and make jokes. I'm all for the jokes. You know what? Maybe you seen the wrong tweet. You know, they got the fake Adam Schefter pages, man. I don't see that on his page. I literally just went on his page. I don't see that. Let me pull it up for you, man. I think you Mike, you drank too many pops, man. Too many beverages. Let me see. I'm gonna show you so you don't think I'm, You sure it's the real Adam Schefter? Mike. Philly Mike. My wife would be disappointed in you, man. Philly fans, some of the realest people in the world, Mike. Mike, we don't see that, Mike. Mike, I think you was bamboozled. I think they got you, Mike. They got you, Mike. They got you, man. Appreciate you coming through, though, man. I appreciate you. But I'm glad. I was glad to. Glad we did this show today. We had to talk. We'll be back Friday, 7:15 Eastern time. I appreciate all you guys that stopped by today, all the lurkers, the commenters. I appreciate you guys. You guys help this channel grow. I say it all the time. We building this thing brick by brick. Ain't no rocket boosters back here. We the rocket boosters as the community. So if you're a football fan, you enjoy football, you enjoy football stories, that's what we do over here at D Knows. And we got some other stuff coming up real soon here. So it's all football based. So if you're a football fan, this is the place to be. And we're going to have fun. I even have something that I want to do with the community. So like I said, make sure you guys like, subscribe, share. It helps. Wake up the page. Get all the football people out here. And like I said, the next time, the goal is to get about 30 people in the chat on the regular, 30 to 50 people in the chat on the regular. And we'll do something special leading up to this draft. So, again, I appreciate you guys as always. Y'all guys make the show go. I can't do it without y'all. And hopefully y'all enjoy what y'all seeing. Until we do it again. Friday, 7:15. I really appreciate you guys. So we'll do it again. And make sure you guys are checking out the channel. It'll be some videos dropping, videos, shorts. If you need to reach out, got questions, anything like that, leave it in the comments below. If it's a question you want me to answer, leave it in the comments below. We'll even feature it on Friday's show. So, that's all I got for you guys. And I appreciate you guys coming to hang out with us. And we'll do it again. So I'll see you guys Friday. You guys have a good night. Me personally, I got to go make some tacos. Ready to eat, kind of hungry. Me and my wife, we got to eat. We hungry. Got to go. I'm a big man. Got to eat. I get angry when I don't eat. I'm joking. I'll see you guys later. See you guys Friday. Y'all guys have a good one.